Greetings. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to Global uh, Leadership Perspectives. And as you all know, that on this platform, we discuss matters concerning leadership. And so we discuss right away from the local perspective up to the global perspective. And so I want to encourage all of you who have not been able to subscribe to our channel. Please go ahead and subscribe so that this kind of program will be able to reach many other people and they'll be able to learn more about leadership. And I believe by so having the opportunity to learn about leadership, especially practical leadership, where we take a case study, we analyze and we interpret and probably come up with a certain conclusion that can help us to inform us and also subsequently help in terms of our decision making and also looking at issues in the general perspective. And so today I would like to talk about the Kenyan government and in this case the leaders that are in place. As we all know, we have a new government in place and they've not been in the government for a while. They are barely a few months and they are still probably navigating their way on how they need to do and what they need to do. Though that is a relative question because everyone that goes for a country's or a nation leadership has a manifesto, and I believe in the manifesto states clearly what they would do when, in case they get the opportunity. In this case, they got the opportunity, and so they need to just go ahead and deliver the kind of the things that they stated or indicated in their manifestos, in their manifesto. And so today, as I want to look at the leadership of Kenya Kwanza government, there are about 4 points that I want to bring up, and I believe if they can look at them and internalize them, I believe there's a way they can help to shape and to help in terms of governance, so that I believe it can help them to make a milestone or even some of the things that I'm going to look at. In case they go for them, then they are going to set precedents for their downfall or challenges ahead. And so one of the things that I want to look at is the issue of continuing with President Uhuru initiated projects. President Uhuru, of course, was a president for 10 years, and there are projects that he initiated in different parts of the country. And these projects, quite a number of them are unfinished. And so right now, what we are experiencing from the few months of the Kenya Kwanza government, it appears that they are not interested in these particular projects, and so they are sweeping them and putting them behind them, and they are not interested in continuing with them. Now, for me, this is quite delicate, and for me, actually, what I'm doing is just providing unsolicited advice to the KK government, and so I would I would suggest if they really want to have a good bearing, especially where service delivery is concerned in most of these major things in terms of project, they need to begin from where the president President Uhuru left from. That is where they should have begun from. And this should not be an issue of, oh, we want to begin our own projects, or we also want to kill the projects he began so that we can kill our project. Yes, that is easily said and easily done, but at the expense of the tax of the checkers, at the expense of the Mwananchi, because at the end of the day, this is done using the tax of the people of Kenya. And so, beginning from where he left, the President Uhuru, where he left, that would really be good precedent for the current government, because it will help them to at least to achieve a few things within the preliminary period of their governance, and that will give them a mileage. But of course, we know the political reasons why they will not want to get or to take that direction. It is quite clear. But if I were the president and the leader and his team, I would rather swallow the pride and continue with the projects that the former president had initiated. This would really give him a good bearing. And the issue of starting new projects, initiating new projects, for me, it's a big mistake. For example, we have the issue of housing. The president, before the former president, he initiated quite a number of housing projects, even using the introduced NMS in the capital city of Nairobi, and really everybody could see the result, and they were quite doing well. And so for President Ruto to come and now to initiate other new projects, well, it could make sense, but it's not practical. Economically, it's not practical. What he would have done, rather, as a sober leader and a good leader, is just to continue with the kind of the projects that the president initiated, the houses, because there are quite a number. So now, in this case, there are many house schemes that has been initiated, rolled out, and I'm not quite sure whether it will be possible to fund all of them in all these county government. And so that will really be a burden for the current government, and I wish they will do something different from that. And so that's number one. And number two, this has to do with the issue of being vengeful. And this is something that quite a number of people have talked about. And so for me, I would encourage and advise the KK government not to attempt the vengeful mission. This is a very slippery route. This is a very delicate route, that it may look exciting to be vengeful, it may look impressive to be vengeful, but at the end of the day, it shall really cost them a lot. And so they may have sufficient grounds, sufficient reasons to believe and even to prove that they face difficulties under the last government, but this should not justify and give them reasons to attempt or even to initiate vengeful missions to the people that worked with the last government. Of course, I'm saying this because and this is politics. If you are looking at it from very parochial perspective, you will not understand this, because, and this is deep, also deep leadership. You need really very good and very sharp eyes to see it. You know, you'll say, yeah, some of these people are being arrested because of the mistakes they did, and the way they violated the constitution, and they went against the law. Yes, that could be the case, but you know, those are just excuses, unless you don't know how politics work and how these things goes around. So these are just excuses. You know, when you want to do such a kind of thing, you have to look at things that would cover your mission. It appears that this is the real thing, but underneath there is a major mission that you want to achieve, major objectives that you want to achieve. So they really need to really shun away from this route of being vengeful. You know, now, if they're going to be vengeful, the point is, for how long also will the KK government be in place? They will not be there forever. It doesn't matter how short it will take, it doesn't matter how long it will take, but at some point, somebody else or a different government will be in place. And what if also they come and say, because this government did this, now also we also want to do the same, we also want to revenge. And this is something that if the people who are close to this government, especially the president, somebody should advise them. As much as it was difficult for you, taking the route of being vengeful, it will eventually hurt your own generation and it will hurt the country at large. And that should be major. So if the leadership cares about their generation, then they need to think twice about this. I'm not saying if somebody has violated the law is supposed to be left like that. If that is the case, there are clear description, clear things that need to be done in order to bring this person and make him to be accountable, but not vindicating and not victimizing and engaging in the kind of the games we are lately seeing. So I think a sober leader and somebody who is just seeing beyond their tenure, they need to think about twice on the issue of being vengeful, and maybe then just need to find a way of overcoming that, and that will be beneficial for them. And the third thing that should be done is that the KK government should deal with unrealistic promises. Every person that was vying presented their manifesto, and that is in order. But in my own view, I find that the kind of the manifesto, all these candidates as were by then, they presented very unrealistic manifestos. And in this case, I find the KK government by then presented a completely unrealistic manifesto. They were top on the list. And so it will be very difficult for them to achieve these kind of promises. And we have already seen what is happening. For example, where the issue of the giving the money for the young people, the loans. Yes, they have initiated something, but that is not what they promised. It is a different thing. We saw and we still see them coming up with promises that sometimes you look at them from different perspective. It is nearly difficult. I'm not saying it is impossible, but it is unrealistic. It is not practical. And so this is something that I don't know how they're going to deal with it, because it's going to hurt them eventually. Because during election, people can say anything. You can say things to hoodwink people and to massage them and to ensure you pull them on your side. But then when you get there, then you realize things are not as you thought. Leadership is not as easy as you think, especially where the country is concerned. There are a lot of things that are involved. And so a lot needs to be done. So unrealistic promises. And for me, what I think it is even a disservice for the people, or if you're not necessarily even for the people, but even for the KK government, is they are continuing to issue some of these unrealistic promises. The other day I heard about gas that will be going at 300 shilling. Actually, the president announced that. I'm not saying that is not possible, but how realistic is that? If that becomes realistic, well and good. We need really to appreciate that, because we want the prices of commodities to come down. But sometimes you look at it in the eye. I know I'm trying to avoid going the political direction. I want to stick to the mandate of this channel, looking at looking at things from the leadership perspective. And so the KK government need to be careful about the unrealistic promises they have issued and they continue even to issue. It's going to hurt them, so they need to shun away from that. And the other thing that they need to shun away from is inequality, especially where employment is concerned. There are quite a number of appointments, and all of them, when we look at them, actually, I may not have the time to give or cite a few examples, but just look at various appointments that have been made, whether it's in the parastatals, whether it's in the board. Just look at them, and very soon, for appointment for embassies will be coming. There is a trend that we can see in all this. When you take a pen and a paper and you write the names of the people, you realize that one or two tribes are dominant. And Kenya, we are many people, we have many tribes. It is disservice for a leader to either ignore others, or really want to punish them, or want not to involve them in leadership. Good leadership would want to, especially as where the nation is concerned, because you want to advocate for cohesion, unity, and you are president, you're leading not a section of Kenyans, but all Kenyans. For that reason, leadership needs to replicate and show the face of the Kenya, something that will promote nationhood. And so this is something that really this government need to overcome. If they do not overcome it, it's going to bite them at some point. It may not be now, but in the future. So as good leaders, as leaders who wants to show integrity, and even the whole process to be a process of meritocracy, they need just to ensure that there is equality. There is equality and there is equity in all these appointments, in all the employments, so that in the future we will not begin to see other people being relegated to the position of completely impoverished as a result of being neglected or sidelined where employment is concerned. So that's something that I feel the leadership of KK need to shun completely as soon as yesterday. The other thing is that they should not approach the government as a business entity. There are those who have advanced theories that a government can still engage in business the same way NGOs, non-profit organization, can engage in business. And I don't want to get into the details of that, but for me, whether they are involved in it or not, the underlining question is that, are they offering delivering services to the people? Because government are in place to offer good governance so that the people can receive good services, the services they deserve, and the services that really can help and boost their livelihood. And so if the government, everybody who is coming in it, and because we have a big bunch of young politicians who are in leadership, and most of them, when they're coming it, they want to ensure that they amass in sufficient wealth, as because they're not sure about the next election, and even they want to use it so as they can secure their places in the forthcoming election in 2027. And so for me, I really would think and stand for those who argues that the government really business is to not to engage in business, but to ensure they are providing services to the people. And with this government, no, everybody wants to get in, because when that happens, people are going to fight for those tenders, and everybody will want their people to get the tenders. And that alone will create rift. That alone will create a lot of problems. and that will not be good for the leadership of the KK government. So I think they need to approach the government with the mentality of offering services to the people, but not necessarily doing business with the government. That alone is sufficient to create havoc and to create that kind of confusion, and people will not focus on service delivery, but people will be focusing on what can they get out of the government, not what can they offer and what can they do to provide solutions. So I believe the leadership of the KK government, if I had an opportunity to speak to them, I would really advise them to look at these 5 things that I believe can easily shift and change their matrix. And so I've said they need to think about the projects that President Uhuru initiated, and in my own view, I would advocate that's where they should have begun from, and that will set good precedent for them, even to argue their case to the people. And number 2, I've said they need to really they should not attempt the vengeful mission. And number 3, they need to really find a way of dealing with unrealistic promises. They delivered pre-election and even post-election. We still see them doing that. And number 3, they need to deal and shun away from inequality where employment is concerned. And lastly, they need to approach the government, the kind of the leadership they're providing, not as a business entity, but as an opportunity to offer services to the people of Kenya. If this requires good and sober leadership, and mature leadership, and bold leadership. So the King bless you, and the King bless Kenya.